The only race of people that will serve a God that don't look like them is us, is black people. White people are not going to serve a God or king that don't look like them. So you are not going to give white people a black God or a black Jesus and say, this is your God, and they say, okay, I'm going to serve that. You're not going to give the Arabs a white Jesus or even a black God, and they're going to say, I'm going to serve that. They're going to find the belief. Even them Africans he mentioned, them Africans, they're not going to serve a God that doesn't look like them. But black people, we accept the white Jesus. We accept the Arab belief. We accept everything because we don't have no identity. This man said, Jesus Christ said, you must give up yourself. I'm paraphrasing. He didn't say, excuse me, give up your life to follow Christ. He didn't say give up your identity, because Christ said, I'm not sent but into the lost sheep of the house of Israel. It still matters. Giving up your life is your way of life. The way that you live then under Christ is not the way that you live now. And also, the last time I checked, Hamites or Africans don't call themselves black. We call ourselves black. It still matters. Giving up your life is your way of life. The way that you live then under Christ is not the way that you live now. And also, the last time I checked, Hamites or Africans don't call themselves black. We call ourselves black. What a Hamite is, that's Africans. When I talk to Africans, they don't call themselves African American. They don't use that dumb Pan-Africanist. They call themselves by the tribe or village that they live in. And they perceive us as less than. They look at us just as the white man looks at us. And I don't know why we got all this love for Africans when the white man didn't come into Africa to catch us. Africans brought us to the white man for slavery. So let's get, if we're going to talk about that part of history, let's talk about that. But then we also got to find out, why didn't they bring up the white Christians that replaced Jesus, gave it to us, and then we can't correct that? Like, we wrong for correcting that. That's why I had him repeat what the question was.
Can I answer your question?
It's an open forum. So if you got something to say, Adam,
part of the battle I love.
Can I answer your question?
Let this sizzle in your spirit. Right. Brother, you spoke for about 10 or 15. We sat on this stage. If Christianity is about truth, why did they change the greatest man written in the Bible? Besides God, besides the Most High, Yahweh in the Hebrew, Jesus Christ is the greatest man to exist ever. And if we love Jesus Christ, Yahweh Shah Mashiach, why would we change his image? So when we close our eyes and say, now I lay me down to sleep, are y'all visioning a black man, or are y'all visualizing that white man that was beat into us?
And what I'm saying is, any view of our history where you frame it around those aspects of our history, I think that it is a white supremacist rendering of history, because there's so much more to our people than just starting on the cotton fields. So that's what I actually said. The other piece is too, just to be, and I'm trying to be respectful here, I really am, but if we're making claims and we're being clear in our claims, it's not our responsibility, to help you to understand where we're coming from, other than to be clear, right? So just because you didn't pick up on our response to the question doesn't mean that we actually didn't answer the question. And I would invite anybody who's watching this playback to go back to what it was that BK shared. Answer the question by making the distinction of what Christianity is, okay? I'm not trying to be funny, but there's levels to this. So really what we're talking about is what's called the law of identity. It's one of the basic laws of logic, okay? The law of identity is that everything is identical to itself. So let's just use a quick analogy. If Adam Coleman says that his wife is 5'4" and 5'7" and black and got with long dreads, and then you see me at the movies with some blonde hair, blue eyed chick, then that means that Adam Coleman's at the movies with somebody that's not his wife. Why? Because we know that in order for that to be my wife, it needs to be how I described it. What I'm saying is you guys are doing the same thing with Christianity, okay? We're saying that Christianity, and I'm not going to speak over BK, but we define what Christianity is. Again, those essential doctrines: God exists, Jesus rose from the grave, Trinity, Jesus returns, things like that. That's what Christianity is, okay? What you guys are talking about was not Christianity. The enslavement of our people, the whitewashing of the whitewashing of Jesus, using colonialism, all of those things, that's not Christianity.
It is legal done here in the woods on private property. It is 10 years in federal prison if done on a black family's lawn to intimidate them.
Klansmen from Mississippi! Mississippi! Klansmen for America! For America! Klansmen, behold the fiery cross, still brilliant. All the troubled history failed to quench its humble flame. Let me say that the cross is an inspiration, a sign of the Christian religion, a symbol of faith, hope, and love. We do not burn but light the cross to signify that Christ is the light of the world.
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Recha HaKwadash, and double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone. Honors as well to you, brethren, you fellow believers of this truth, and shalom to the elect. So anyway, I just was looking through the internet and I saw this video, and it was interesting. You know, we've been speaking on this for years, and Captain Tazaryach made excellent points. That was a clip from out of a bigger live stream that I did a response off of as well. That is a good question, and we always ask that about why is it that our people are the only ones that worship every other god on the planet except the God of Israel. Now Exodus 20 says, thou shalt not have any other god before me. So now we'll ask you Christians, if we bow down to a man that looked like Satan and had horns on his head and called him Jesus, would that be acceptable? Because a lot of you say that his color don't matter, his appearance doesn't matter. With that logic, we could bow down to any deity. We can bow down to Baal, Chemosh, right? We can bow down to multiple Ashtaroth, because that's what our people are doing today. All these years, right? All these years, we were following this white Jesus, and nobody had an issue with it. Nobody, right? Until we start waking up to the truth, right? And now we brought out the correct image according to what the Bible say, and the Christians say that doesn't even mean that. So they'll say his color don't matter, nobody knows, but we knew he wasn't white. See, it brings more confusion, right? But all those years we believed in that Jesus, and nobody cared about, telling us, well, and me as a little boy, when I went into the church and I saw that big white Jesus on a cross, nobody tapped me on the shoulder and said, look, young man, that picture, that ain't him. But now we say it's the image, the true image. Well, it doesn't matter. It's the message. But you know what message they gave us for all these years? That's embroidered in our head. You remember that episode from Good Times? Look it up on YouTube. And little Michael, he wanted the black Jesus up. And the mother, she said, nah, keep the white Jesus up. That's who I know. You see what I'm saying? It's sick, man. It's sick behavior. They want us to be sick. Now, I wanted to do this video because of, just spilling a little bit of history, right? Because when you come down to it, let's read on the clans a little bit. First, let's get Acts 10. Acts 11, Salakia. Let's go to Acts 11 and 20. And some of them were men of Cyrene and Cyrene, which when they were come to Antioch, spoke of unto the Grecians, preached to the Lord Jesus, right? And the Grecians were Greek-speaking Jews, right? Now, when you go further up, it would say brethren that were in Judea and heard of the Gentiles. Gentiles is another universal word. Again, we keep bringing this out. That's not a Hebrew nor a Greek word. In some translations, it'll say Greek. In the older translations, it'll say heathen men, which we were. That's another video, right? So you had different kind of manners of Jews. This is why it says Jews, Greeks, Grecians. That's another video. I just want to get to this point. Verse 25. Then departed Barnabas to Tarsus, right, for to seek Saul. And when he had found him, he brought him to Antioch. And it came to pass that the whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people. And disciples were called Christians first in Antioch. Now, why are they called Christians? The word Christian just means anointed. But these people have managed to take the name Christian and turn it into a whole new religion. That's what they've done. And then they start 1500s or so forth. Then they start calling themselves Christians. Right? They just changed the whole dynamic. That just means anointed. But these were still Jews. So they made this, the people that set us up and funded this trade and all this that happened wanted to separate themselves from us. So they called us Christians and called them Jews. Do your research. That's why they separated. But the Jews were Christians. After all, the Messiah was a Christian. I mean, the Messiah was a Jew. So how do you get Jew and Christian? How do you separate them? To tell you this is not even a technically legitimate word. And it is, but it should not have been separated. The Jews are Christians. But somehow now we got a religion that started, right? This new religion that came about 1600s or so and turned it to, you had a reformationists out of the Roman Catholic Church, out of the Protestants, the Protestants, evangelicals, who separated and made it a so-called religion. So one people were allowed to call themselves Jews and made other people call themselves Christians, when the Jews are Christians. Because the Messiah was a Christian. I mean, he was a Jew. And after, and along his walk came the believers of him, the Messiah, the anointed. He was the Christian. He was the great Christian. That's why they called him Christ, which is a false name. But he's the anointed. Come on, man. Anyway, Ku Klux Klan, commonly shortened for KKK. Klan is the name of American Protestant Christians, extremists, white supremacists, far-right hate group. Christian extremists, right? Christian extremists, and have been three distinct iterations and various targets relative to the time or the place, including the African Americans, Jews, and Catholics. You see how they made all of this separate? They had a problem with the Jays when it was really us. But because they called themselves us, then they had a problem with them, because they shouldn't have called them that. They should have called them who they were, and I can't say that in the video, but they should have called them what they called them and had a problem with them taking their slaves, right? And giving us to them. It was all about, when you look at the, what do they call it? Emancipation. Transfer of rulership. That's all that was. You wonder why they burn crosses in the backyards of so-called blacks? Yeah. Well, we know who else was hung on I'll say so-called cross. We know who else was hung on that. So why is it that black people mainly have crosses in their backyard? Could that be saying we're the true Christians as so-called black people? Yeah. All right. You phonies keep going on what you go on. Exodus 21:16. We're going to show you in this lesson that the Christianity you see today is not the same Christianity. And then the historians will say, long before slavery, they were already following Christianity. No, they was following Judaism, because Judaism was Christianity. There was forms of Judaism where some didn't believe in the Messiah. So then they made the separation between Jews and Christians, because some didn't believe in the Messiah, although they were still Jews. You see? So they made that separation. So if you really didn't, like if you was a Jew and you didn't believe in the Messiah, then you couldn't be a Christian because you didn't believe in the Messiah. But there were Jews who believed in the Messiah, which would have still made them Christians. Right? So then they got tangled in the letters of Paul in Romans 3 and talking about the law and all the spirit of the flesh, because our people was in a different state of mind. We were screwed up. So no wonder he was saying, it ain't the flesh, it's the spirit. Because we was all into carnal manners. All you got to do is do the research. Anyway, Exodus 21:16. And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or he that be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. Did they do this all in the name of Christianity? Yes or no? You got to know that the Christianity, even going back to Jean Calvin, how he was burnt, had people burnt at the stake for not following his doctrine. See, the problem was the Protestants, the clans, they had an issue. They were protesters, right? They had an issue with converting black people. They felt that they were the descendants of Aaron, right? If I'm mistaken, I looked this up again. I'm not sure. I can't remember, but I think that's why they call themselves the Aryan nation or something like that. When you look at Phinehas, who was also linked to that lineage, it says he was his definition is the mouth of brass, which means Egyptian Negro. You can look this up. So they had a problem with so-called blacks converting. The other hand, the other slave owner felt like we can convert these guys. They're not as savagey. If they're religious, let's take a little bit of what they know. So they used our Bible, took a little bit of what we know, gave us the slave Bible, and we took the hook, line, and sinker. And then over the generations, then they decided to start adding some things back. They kept the Apocrypha out though, right? But then they start adding things back. That's pretty much the history. So then you had one group of white people who was for enslaving black people. You had another group of white people, the Protestant clans, who was against enslaving Salaki. You had one group of, all of them was in agreement of enslavement, but one group was for converting Negroes to Christianity, to the Bible. But they would say we're still under them because we're still your master. Then you had the other group of Christians, such as the clans and various other groups off of them. You had spin-off groups who said no. Did you read the story of Canaan? They got the curse of Ham. Cain shall be cursed, so they're black. So when these Negroes built these churches, the Klan would come in there and destroy the churches. And they would burn them down. But then it started messing with funds and money. It became a monetary issue. So then the other people that they claim they don't like had to step in, because they said, well, look, we already assumed their identity, so they can be Christians all they want. We don't give a damn. And people will worship us. And knowing that we have that identity, these same people, if they are civilized, they would believe in us. So when you really look at it, them the people that really set this up. You know what I'm talking about, the small hats. They set it up. Can you imagine somebody stealing your identity and then saying you over them? And then calling you a totally different religion? This is why we say Christianity is sick. And then they didn't even allow us to have the black Jesus. They did in the beginning. We had the so-called black Jesus. But that wasn't looking good for the masters. How could we worship them if we was looking at a black Jesus? So they came with the white Jesus, and the Jesuits went around and conquered the world with that white Jesus. It wasn't about, they was going to conquer us and convert us, but they needed to know that the Jesus, the God we worship, was white, because then we would be in more subjection, right? Because we are religious people, right? Anyway, Numbers 35 and 31, right? Moreover, you shall take no satisfaction for the life of a murderer, which is guilty of death, but he shall surely be put to death, right? And ye shall take no satisfaction for him that has fled to the city of his refuge, that he should come again to dwell in the land until the death of the priests. So ye shall not pollute the land. So these people went around, and when they found out that they knew we were the Jews, they knew we were the Israelites, they went all over trying to conquer the Israelites, man, and they did. They got the world, Job 9:24. So you shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land. And the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. You know, that's the only way it's going to be cleansed. And that's why fire has got to come to Babylon. All these things that they done. What did Jesus say? A corrupt tree, Yahushua, they say Jesus. To you Christians, did he not say a corrupt tree bringeth forth corrupt fruit? A corrupt seed bringeth forth a corrupt tree? Did not the implantation of Christianity as we know it, right? Because you say it was always Christians. Yeah. But those Christians was believing in the Messiah, and some wasn't, but they had a different belief, a way of believing. But you came and brought white Jesus and that white doctrine and the white murder and deception and killing and buck breaking and everything else, all in the name of Jesus. That's why the Lord didn't, it's beautiful and I can clap my hands. That's why the Lord didn't allow you to use his image to do what you did to us. His image is now used for us to wake up to who we are. Galatians 1:8. But though we or any angel from heaven preach any other gospel unto you than that which we have preached unto you, let him be accursed. This is what Paul was saying. You had many doctrines back then, and Christianity is nothing but another skank-ass false doctrine. That's all I have on that. Shalom.